I'm Margaret O'Connor, 68 years old, and for 8 years I've carried the heavy burden of a family betrayal that threatened to drain my life savings and force me to weave a new legacy. Grandma, my parents are going to take all your money, my granddaughter whispered. 8 years ago, stick around to see the jaw-dropping twist that turns the tables. Like, subscribe, and activate the bell to catch every moment of this incredible journey. It was the winter of 2017, a chilly July morning in Melbourne, the air crisp with the scent of eucalyptus from the Royal Botanic Gardens and the distant hum of trams along Flinders Street, when I heard the whispered confession from my granddaughter, Lily, in the cozy living room of my Fitzroy Terrace, a home filled with decades of memories. The room, with its worn armchairs, family photo albums, and the faint tick of a grandfather clock, had been my sanctuary during the quiet years of retirement, a place where the warmth of tea and the rustle of old letters had fueled my peace. But that day, it turned into a battleground where my trust was shattered under the soft glow of a lamp. I was 60 then, a retired accountant with a knack for financial planning, my modest savings built from 40 years at a local firm and a small inheritance from my late husband, Patrick, safeguarded for my family's future. My prudence earning quiet admiration from Lily, who saw me as her confidant, and my son, James, and his wife, Sarah, who managed my affairs. I'd raised James in this terrace after Patrick's passing in 2005, teaching him the value of hard work after my accounting career at Deloitte, bringing stability to a household once strained by medical bills, outdated investments, mounting debts, a lifestyle nearing 20% overspend, my name a quiet anchor among relatives who relied on my counsel. But that morning, as Lily, then 10, tugged at my shawl with teary eyes, her voice trembling as she revealed, "Grandma, my parents are going to take all your money," my world tilted. She explained how James and Sarah, frustrated by my frugal oversight of a $300,000 nest egg, invested in safe bonds and a rental property in Brunswick, had forged a power of attorney document claiming my declining health after a staged fall I'd recovered from, intending to liquidate my assets for a lavish holiday home in Sorrento and a new car, their plan, whispered during a heated argument she'd overheard. To bury me, they manipulated my trust with fabricated doctor's notes, suggesting early dementia from a compliant GP they'd pressured, and a lost will they'd replaced with a new one favoring them, backed by a lawyer friend, and a conveniently timed bank error that misplaced my account statements, which I'd stored in a locked drawer that appeared emptied after a cleaning day. My sister, Margaret, swayed by James's charm, his 15-year marriage to Sarah, and my isolation, my statements gone, leaving me voiceless, supported their narrative in 2018, isolating me as confused and incapable, a label that clung to me like dust on old photos. My neighbor, Tom, a kind widower with a love for gardening and a steady hand, offered support, but my savings dwindled under legal fees, my dream of a legacy for Lily fading into the cramped reality of a terrace with peeling wallpaper, a sagging sofa, and a leaky roof that dripped through the nights. Those words, "My parents are going to take all your money," became a relentless echo, a haunting refrain that reverberated through every letter I wrote, every account I checked, every moment I stood alone by the window, the sound mingling with the tick of the clock and the patter of rain. I can still feel the weight of those early months after the revelation, sitting on that sagging sofa in my terrace, the Melbourne skyline visible through the window, a reminder of my lost security, as I flipped through bank records and legal guides in the age, the ink smudging my fingers with each turn of the page, my eyes burning with exhaustion after sleepless nights plotting James's betrayal. The terrace with its heirloom furniture, a wobbly table Tom had repaired, a chair with a frayed cushion he'd mended with fabric, and a single window overlooking a laneway where delivery vans rumbled, felt a universe away from the financial stability I'd built, its air heavy with the lingering scent of tea and mildew I'd brought home on my shawl, a reminder of the life I'd lost. Tom took on extra garden jobs, landscaping in Richmond, pruning in Collingwood, his evenings spent weeding under a porch light, the scent of soil and chamomile a testament to his sacrifice, while I pieced together a fragile existence with freelance bookkeeping in Carlton, pension reviews in South Yarra, and weekend shifts at a charity shop in St. Kilda, each ledger a fight to reclaim my savings, every dollar a step toward survival in a city where property taxes soared and retirement dreams felt out of reach. Lily, now 18 and studying social work at RMIT, grew up surrounded by photo albums turned into journals, statements stacked beside her bed, her teenage questions a tender ache. "Why don't they listen to you anymore, Grandma?" she'd ask, her hands tracing the edges of my old ledger. I'd smile through the tightness in my chest, spinning tales of new plans to protect our family. But the truth gnawed at me. James and Sarah had isolated me, their narrative of my frailty spreading to relatives and banks, their influence a barrier to my control, leaving me stuck in the margins of a legacy I'd once secured. James and Sarah's lifestyle flourished in the years that followed. By 2020, they'd upgraded to a lavish home in Toorak, their names linked to donations at the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, their wealth evident in a beach house in Sorrento, a leased BMW for their trips, and designer clothes for Lily's school events, while I rebuilt quietly, starting a savings blog by 2019 from my terrace. My posts grew, tips for retirees in Bendigo, advice in Geelong, who valued my wisdom, my reputation a quiet undercurrent in Melbourne's financial scene, passed along at community halls and online groups. But the wound deepened with every milestone of their success. James's smug speeches at charity galas, Sarah's Instagram posts from the Great Ocean Road, Lily's unease at their extravagance, each a fresh tear. My sister, who passed in 2022, had believed their lies, her final years dimmed by their version of events, her calls filled with concern over my decline. Lily, torn between loyalty and truth, grappled with guilt, her studies shadowed by James and Sarah's influence, her questions about my savings strained by her parents' favor in the family. Tom's unwavering support, his hand-pruned roses, his late-night chats over cups of chamomile, his repairs of my leaky roof kept me grounded, his friendship a steady beam in the storm. The turning point came 2 years ago, in 2023, when the first cracks in their polished facade emerged. Their Sorrento house faced foreclosure over unpaid loans. Staff posted viral complaints on X about unpaid wages, and a whistleblower exposed falsified financials in a The Age expose. At 65, with my hands trembling from years of bookkeeping, I began my discreet investigation, contacting old colleagues over tea at cafes in Fitzroy. I'd meet them in the early mornings, my notebook a shield, listening to their tales of James and Sarah's decline. Reckless spending forged documents, a culture of deceit, over plates of scones and Earl Grey. Last month, on July 20th, 2025, I sat with Helen, a former auditor who'd left in 2022, at a cafe in Collingwood, the hum of trams a faint backdrop. Her trembling hands passed me a USB drive. Their crumbling, stolen powers, fake reports, pressure on us to hide debts. She murmured, her voice thick with regret. "That money was yours, Margaret." My pulse raced. This was the proof I'd waited for. On August 10th, 2025, I contacted David, a journalist with The Age who'd uncovered financial scandals with a keen eye, meeting him at his cluttered office in Docklands. We pored over the USB, photos of my 2017 account statements, detailed logs of James and Sarah's theft, emails hinting at bribed lawyers. This could bankrupt them, David said, his voice a mix of excitement and caution. But we need the right ledger. On August 22nd, 2025, I dug deeper, turning my terrace into a detective's lair. Amid albums and teacups, I accessed public records online, my fingers stiff but resolute. At 10 a.m., I found it, a 2024 audit report buried in the Victorian Consumer Affairs archives, tied to my assets, now linked to a fraud scandal that cost them $180,000 in penalties. My hands shook as I printed it, the past merging with the present in a surge of clarity. That morning, at 9:13 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on September 7th, 2025, I sat by my window, the Melbourne skyline a soft glow, plotting my next move. The Victorian Family Business Awards were on September 20th, a glittering event to mask their decline. I'd attend, not as the confused grandma, but as their reckoning. What they didn't know was I'd transformed my pain into a balance sheet of justice calculated by 8 years of resilience. The 4 weeks leading to the awards were a meticulous audit of strategy and secrecy, my days running the blog a cover for the revenge tabulating in my mind. By August 25th, 2025, my terrace, its walls lined with albums faded by time, its table cluttered with statement drafts stained with tea, its air tinged with the scent of chamomile and dust, became my office where every penciled figure and ledger check fueled my resolve. David and I met nightly, his recorder open on my sagging sofa as we dissected the USB and audit reports, the soft tick of the clock a rhythm to our planning. My 2017 savings plan, with its bond investments and rental income, had been their target, its stability a foundation of their rise, while my frugal tweaks, reinvestment strategies I'd proposed, had been exploited, leading to the 2024 scandal. Helen's data revealed a pattern: stolen powers from 2018, falsified reports in 2021, a cover-up of a 2023 loan default hushed with lawyer bribes, a fragile empire on the brink. I contacted Mr. Evans, a retired lawyer who'd clashed with James over a 2019 property dispute, his measured voice joining us via a crackling Zoom call from his home in Geelong. This could nullify their claims. Hit them mid-speech, he advised, his tone laced with old rivalries. I nodded, my plan a ledger crafted from 8 years of suppressed fury, each entry a memory of lost trust, stolen savings, shattered family. The awards, set for 7 p.m. on September 20th, 2025, at the Melbourne Convention Centre, would be James and Sarah's stage, a gathering of business owners, relatives, media, and sponsors, all drawn by the promise of prestige under the venue's modern dome. I'd pose as a retired accountant, my shawl swapped for a modest outfit with a hidden pocket, my movements slow with a cane to conceal my intent, my silver hair in a soft bun a symbol of my enduring wisdom. My task was to deliver the evidence to David, who'd signal Mr. Evans's legal contacts at 8 p.m., timed with James's acceptance speech, ensuring maximum exposure. I secured an invitation through Lily, now 18 and networked with a judge's daughter at RMIT. Her email on August 28th, a laminated pass I clutched like a pen, her note reading, "You're my rock, Grandma." She suspected nothing, her support a tool I'd wield with care. Preparation was a rigorous review, a blend of physical discipline and emotional fortitude. I practiced my shuffle daily along the Yarra Trail, perfecting a weary gait and a warm, unassuming smile that masked my burning resolve, my cane tapping a rhythm of patience against the path. I rehearsed lines, just here to celebrate family heritage, though each word carried the weight of James and Sarah's betrayal, Tom's steadfast friendship, and Lily's silent pride in my past. Physically, I balanced books and sorted records daily, my hands protesting, but each calculation strengthened my will to stand tall that night. I revisited old mementos, statement drafts from 2017, a faded photo with Patrick at a bank, a ledger Lily decorated, a rejected will, each a spark in my fire. One night, I found an empty drawer from the bank error, its contents lost, and wept, the lost security fueling my fury. I tracked Lily's life, her social work projects, her friendship with a girl named Mia, hoping this act would secure her future free from James and Sarah's shadow. On September 17th, James called, his tone smooth with false warmth. "Mum, the awards are ours. Bring Lily, let's reconcile," he said, his voice polished but laced with condescension. I agreed, hiding my scheme. He didn't suspect I'd coordinated with David, who'd lined up Mr. Evans's contacts, or that I'd commissioned an outfit with a hidden pocket. Its fabric a shield of my past honor. The outfit arrived on September 19th, sewn by a local seamstress from Richmond, Mrs. Nguyen, who chatted about her garden, unaware of my mission. I tested the pocket, sliding the USB, and awed it inside. There weighed a promise of justice. At 6:30 p.m. on September 20th, I arrived, the convention center buzzing with the clink of glasses and the murmur of excited business owners, the Yarra glinting through the dome. James spotted me near the entrance, smirking. "Mom, still counting pennies?" "Sweet," he quipped. I nodded, my cane steady, my pocket ready. At 7:45 p.m., he began his speech, launching into a tale of his family legacy and unveiling a new investment plan echoing mine. I scanned the scene, Lily clapping awkwardly, Mia beside her, media filming, Sarah sipping champagne with a smug grin, relatives adjusting his notes. At 7:58 p.m., as James praised his vision, I edged toward David, my pulse a drumbeat. I slipped him the USB and audit, whispering, "Now." He nodded, texting Mr. Evans. At 8:02 p.m., legal officers stormed in, badges glinting under the dome lights, shouting, "Investigation underway." James's plan fell, his face paling as they seized his tablet. The awards ceremony erupted into a maelstrom of chaos, attendees scattering like startled cockatoos fleeing the convention center's grand hall, media cameras swiveling to capture every frame of the unfolding family drama, James's protests drowned by the authoritative commands of legal officers that reverberated off the modern dome, the lights casting fractured beams across the scene. Lily stood stunned near a canopy table, Mia's hand on her arm offering silent support, her eyes wide with disbelief as the truth emerged, while business owners murmured in clusters, their tight-knit world rocked by the scandal. I stood tall, my outfit a badge of my hard-earned resolve forged over 8 years, my cane a symbol of strength that had carried me through the quietest nights, my heart pounding with a mix of 8 years of vindication and the bittersweet ache of a family nearly lost to James and Sarah's deceit that had cast a long shadow. Legal officers swarmed the stage, their dark suits a stark contrast to the venue's elegant decor of glass panels and carpet, cuffing James as he roared, "This is a farce! Mum, you'll pay!" His voice cracking with the desperation of a man watching his empire crumble. They read charges, fraud that stripped his claims, falsified documents that undermined his reputation, financial misconduct that endangered my savings, each word a hammer blow to his legacy, the list growing with a $200,000 penalty for unaccounted assets that funded his beach house, their voices steady as they recited the litany. David approached, his voice a lifeline amid the din of shouting and camera shutters. "They've got him. Margaret, you've done it. His account's overdrawn," he said, his eyes alight with the thrill of the scoop. The media frenzy was immediate. Headlines like O'Connor's family fraud and Grandma's 8-year revenge blazed across screens by 10 p.m., my name a murmur of awe in the chaos that swirled through the center, microphones thrust toward me like calculators seeking a sum. James turned to me, his face flushed with rage that modeled his once charming features, sweat beading on his brow like rain on a window, his tailored suit now rumpled as legal officers tightened their grip on his arms, his posture slumping under the weight of defeat. "You? After all this time, you senile old bat? You've ruined us," he bellowed, his voice breaking with the desperation of a man whose funds were frozen, his hands shaking as he pointed at me with a trembling finger. I met his gaze, unflinching despite the tremor in my own hands that betrayed the adrenaline coursing through me, my voice clear and resonant with the strength of 8 years of silent suffering that had sharpened my resolve. "You said I'd never protect this money, James, that I was only fit for counting pennies. I proved you wrong, with evidence that outlasts your lies, with grit that outran your schemes, with every ledger I balanced while you stole and faltered. This is my payback, for me, for Lily whose future you shadowed, for every relative you deceived, for every dollar you coveted with your greed. He lunged, his fist raised in a futile gesture of defiance that spoke of his last grasp at control, but legal officers restrained him with firm hands, dragging him out as Sarah sobbed hysterically, her champagne flute slipping to shatter on the floor in a spray of glass, a symbol of her fallen status. Lily rushed to me, her voice breaking through the noise like a lifeline tossed into a stormy room. "Grandma, I didn't know. I'm sorry for doubting you," she said, tears streaking her face as she wrapped her arms around me, the first embrace in months that mended a rift I'd feared permanent. I hugged her back, the warmth of her body against mine a balm to the wounds of the past, Mia nodding in support with a quiet smile, a bridge to a future reclaimed from the ledgers of my past. The crowd buzzed with reporters, their microphones thrust toward me like pens seeking a signature, but I turned away, my victory a private balance burning bright within, a sum no scandal could offset. The fallout was swift and unyielding, a reckoning that dismantled the remnants of James and Sarah's lavish life. Legal officers suspended their control over my assets, seizing the Turak home and records rooms in Brunswick where statements sat idle, files from financial logs hauled away in crates, freezing their personal accounts that held the profits of their deceit, halting their galas across Victoria where they'd once presided, while inspectors raided their Sorrento Beach house for evidence of fraud, uncovering a vault with forged documents. Their empire collapsed like a bounced check, their reputation tarnished beyond repair, businesses distancing themselves with press releases, their names a cautionary tale whispered in offices from Geelong to Ballarat, a fallen couple replaced by silence. The media dug deeper, uncovering a $130,000 slush fund for bribed lawyers that funded their BMW and Sarah's wardrobe, a detail that sent shockwaves through the Victorian financial sector and prompted a state probe, the scandal-dominating evening news. Lily reconciled fully, moving into my terrace to help expand my blog into a financial advisory, her skills blending with mine, while Tom and I planned a garden getaway to a home we'd finally saved for, the scent of roses a promise of peace. Sarah faded from gala circuits, her social circle dissolving like a receding tide, and relatives, including my nephew, distanced themselves, seeking new ties to escape the taint. I didn't gloat. My goal was justice, not destruction, a balance I'd learned from years of accounting, but the sight of James and Sarah's fall brought a profound peace that filled the hollow left by their words, a quiet satisfaction that settled in my soul like a well-balanced book. That morning, at 9:13 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on September 7th, 2025, I sat with a cup of chamomile that glowed gold in the sunlight, the news confirming their suspension on a muted radio, a letter from James in hand, its envelope creased from my grip. "Mum, I was wrong. Help us," it pleaded, his handwriting shaky with the defeat that had finally overtaken him. The ink smudged as if by tears of regret. I didn't reply, the past too raw, my strength too hard-won to soften now, the paper crumpling in my fist as I set it aside to focus on the legacy ahead. Months later, their hearing began in a courtroom in Melbourne Magistrates Court, legal officers and inspectors wielding my evidence with the precision of an auditor's eye, Helen's testimony a damning narrative of financial corruption, and Mr. Evans's audit records a final statement. The gallery filled with former colleagues who nodded in silent support, their briefcases traded for suits. I attended the first day, my presence a silent testament to my journey from penny counter to this moment, seated beside Lily and Tom, whose hand I held tightly, and watched James and Sarah's defense crumble under the weight of truth, dozens of relatives and staff stepping forward with tales of pressure and theft, their voices a chorus of validation that echoed through the room. The judge, a stern jurist with a passion for justice and a gavel that rang like a cash register, ordered a full investigation, hinting at potential restitution, and fines that loomed like a defaulted loan, his ruling a vindication of my 8-year wait. Lily and I launched O'Connor Legacy Advisors, restoring family pride with financial planning, hiring Helen as a consultant whose expertise bridged my past and present, while Tom retired from gardening to teach botany to kids, his hands finding new purpose in soil. I visited the terrace once, its rooms silent with the absence of James's voice, its albums a memory of my youth, a monument to his greed and my redemption that stood tall in my heart. My revenge, 8 years in the making, was not just justice served with a tally of spite. It was my rebirth, a legacy reclaimed from the wreckage of their sabotage, a testament to the resilience I'd always carried within, a balance that grew stronger with each account I settled.